Yes, sir.
Okay, good, good. So today we are going to start with negotiable instruments, which is your third unit. And this unit will be talking about the instruments which are used for financial transactions, which are backing up financial transactions, and they are covered by Negotiable Instruments Act 1881. So in form of the legal definition, what is a negotiable instrument? It contains an undertaking to pay a definite sum of money, which may be transferred by delivery or by endorsement and delivery. So there are, so basically, if you look at the negotiable instrument, the negotiable instrument tells you that it is a legal document that contains an undertaking, right? That this much amount or a definite amount of money will be paid or will be transferred via delivery or via endorsement to a person. This is what is negotiable instrument. And as the word suggests, negotiable means that it can be transferred further. It can be negotiated further, right? That is what is the meaning of negotiable instrument is. Let us quickly move to the characteristics of negotiable instrument. We'll come to that later. Then bill of exchange is there. There are different examples. For bill of exchange, we have definitions as well, right? So we will, let's just quickly move to negotiable instrument. Right. So let us first understand what are the different characteristics as per the legal document, as per the law, Negotiable Instruments Act 1881. The first is that negotiable instrument has a title which can be passed on further. There is a title to every negotiable instrument, and that title can be passed on, right, at the time of delivery or delivery plus endorsement, right? The rights can be transferred from one person to another. So the title of the negotiable instrument can be transferred from one person to another depending on who is the holder of that negotiable instrument. We'll come to those details, that what is the title, how a person can become holder, what are the rights of the holder, etc. But just try to understand that what is negotiable instrument. Second characteristic है negotiable instrument का, that is person to whom the instrument is negotiated, means the person to whom the instrument has been transferred, he's called transferee, can sue in his or her own name. Can sue means can go to the court in his or her name, right? Because what happens is you have transferred the negotiable instrument from yourself to someone else. That person is supposed to receive a payment. He didn't receive the payment. What he will do, he will go to the court, right? Third major characteristics is that the transferee or the person who has received the negotiable instruments now, who is currently holding the negotiable instrument, who takes the instrument in the good faith and for value without actual notice of any defect, obtains a good title. It is a feature of every negotiable instrument. When it is transferred from one person to another, the other person will take it in good faith, will take it in good title. He believes the instrument, he believes the person who is transferring it, the transferer, and thinks that he will receive the money on behalf of this particular instrument. If he does not get the money on time, if the instrument is dishonored, that is a different case altogether. But when the transfer is made, when the rights are transferred, it is believed that the person will get the good amount that is mentioned on the title of the negotiable instrument. So these are the three major characteristics through which we have seen how a negotiable instrument works. Let's move to the first example of negotiable instrument, which is bill of exchange. Usually you would find it as part of your 11th and 12th syllabus, what is bill of exchange, but we'll cover it off today. Bill of exchange. According to section 5 of Negotiable Instruments Act, a bill of exchange is an instrument in writing. The first characteristic of bill of exchange is that it is always in writing. To be more precise, in the modern world, it has to be printed. Containing an unconditional order. Now, this is the first type of negotiable instrument in which there is an order given. unconditional order. There is no condition, unconditional order. Third characteristic is that it is signed by the maker. The person who is making it, who is giving an order, will make it, print it, and sign it, directing a certain person to pay a sum of money. Two more features that we can see. First is that it is directed to a person, right, to make a payment of a definitive sum, right, only to or to the order of a certain person. Now, this is another characteristic feature of bill of exchange, that you order that person, that you make a payment to me, one, or to the order of a certain person. Whoever approaches you with this bill, you will have to make a payment to that person, either me or the person who approaches you with this order, or to the bearer of the instrument. So this very clearly defines what is a bill of exchange. Bill of exchange is an unconditional order in writing. It is containing an order given by the maker who signs the bill. He directs a person to pay a certain amount to him or to the bearer of the document, of the instrument. So now this bill of exchange is a very interesting thing. I will take you back to the 11th and 12th class when we have studied credit purchase and credit sales. So say, for example, I am a seller and you are a purchaser. You bought certain things, some goods from me on credit. You are a purchaser, I am a seller. I am supposed to make a bill of exchange. I will make a bill of exchange in your name. On the top of bill of exchange, I will say, this is my name, my company. I am giving you an order to make a payment of this amount to me or to the person who is carrying this particular negotiable instrument or bill of exchange on the date of payment. I will sign it. I will direct you to make that payment, right? And there is a definite sum, which is basically denoting the transaction that we have done, the credit sales for me, credit purchases for you. So this is what is basically bill of exchange. Let us have a look at the bill of exchange. So here you can see on the screen, this is the top where, my company's name, my company's letterhead will come. It will say, this is the company, this is the registered office, this is the phone number, this is this, that, etc. Then it will say what is the place where this particular bill of exchange will be issued. What is the date on which this will be issued? Here is the revenue stamp or the stamp that will make it a validated legal document. Here I am giving the order. 3 months after due date, pay XYZ or order. XYZ or order, the sum of rupees 1000 for value received. To Messrs ABC Gandhinagar Jammu. Now, the most interesting thing is, this is where I am ordering. This is the person whom I am ordering. This is my company. This is the amount. This is the due date. This is the date. Right? So due date is this. So I need to pay after the due date this amount of money to this party. Sorry, this party needs to make a payment for this amount to this party, which is going to have the bill of exchange. Or at the time of payment, I will instruct Messrs ABC that go and make payment to Mr. Q, Mr. P, Mr. R, depending on who is the person in due course. What are the different parts that we have studied? We have seen there is a date, there is a term, 3 months, there is an amount, 1000 in the previous example, there is a stamp to make it a legalized document. Parties. First party is the person who is making it, issuing it. The second party who is going to accept it. Bill of exchange is to be accepted by someone. That acceptor is this party, Messrs ABC Gandhinagar. He will accept this. These are the parties. What are the special features? We have already discussed that. I'm not going to run you through this particular slide. This already explains what I have already told you in detail, that what are the different features, that it is in writing, it is made by a maker, he signs it, it is an unconditional order. The order must be to pay the money, the sum payable. Now, the most important factor of a bill of exchange is, इसमें पे करने का ही ऑर्डर होगा. इसमें मैं ये नहीं लिखूंगा कि मैं आपको पेमेंट करूंगा. इसमें मैं ये लिखूंगा कि ये बिल है, इसका इस तारीख को इस आदमी को या मुझे पेमेंट कर दो और आपको एड्रेस करूंगा. You will receive it, you will sign it, पहले मैं साइन करके आपको भेजूंगा, you will accept it as piece of acknowledgement, you will sign it and you will give it back to me. This is what is bill of exchange. ठीक. The name of the drawee must be clearly mentioned. We'll come to the parties also. We will discuss what are the parties to this bill of exchange. So drawer is the person who is making it. Drawee is the person who is going to make the payment, who is going to accept it, right? Parties to the bill of exchange. Drawer, the person who orders a bank to withdraw money from an account to pay a designated person or a specific sum according to the term of the bill. आप ऑर्डर कर रहे हैं एक आदमी को या बैंक को या किसी को that please make a payment on my behalf or please make a payment to this person. That ordering person is a drawer. In bill of exchange, who is the maker? Maker can be the drawer. Drawee, the person on whom the bill is drawn. He is the debtor. मैंने आपको बताया था अभी एग्जांपल देखिए कि क्रेडिट सेल्स हुआ, you purchased material from me, you have become the debtor in my books. I will issue, I will become the drawer of the bill, you will become the drawee, you will accept it. The person who is accepting the bill of exchange, to whom the bill is considered as payable. This is the second party to it. Pay, it is one very interesting part of it. The person to whom the bill or the money is payable. अब आप जिसको पे करने जा रहे हैं वो पार्टी जो है उसको पे कहा जाएगा. The person who is the maker or the drawer can be pay, cannot be pay. अगर उसने ट्रांसफर कर दिया आपका बिल तो he will not be the pay anymore. Somebody else will become the pay. मेकर मैं रहूंगा, ड्रॉर मैं रहूंगा, बट मैंने ट्रांसफर कर दिया हर्ष के नाम पर तो हर्ष will become the pay. In most of the cases, the drawer of the bill himself is the pay. To him, the bill is considered as bill receivable. For me, this is bills receivable. For you, it is bills payable. Right? But अगर मैं इस बिल का ट्रांसफर कर देता हूं to हर्ष, जैसे फॉर एग्जाम्पल आई विल गिव यू वन वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग एग्जाम्पल. मैंने आपको 10,000 रुपए का क्रेडिट सेल्स में सामान बेचा. I have made a bill, you accepted it. Now I have the bill. I am supposed to receive a payment of rupees 10,000 from Ritu. Now I transferred this bill to Mr. Harsh. Why? Because I was supposed to pay him 10,000 rupees. मुझे एक और कोई क्रेडिट ट्रांजैक्शन हुआ था. I purchased some material on credit from Mr. Harsh. I transferred that bill to Harsh. Now Ritu will make a payment to Harsh. In this particular situation, he is the holder of the bill in due course. He will become the owner of that money. So he will accept the payment. I am the drawer. I am the maker. The drawee is Ritu. Harsh is going to take the payment. Who is the payee? This is what is the negotiability power of bills of exchange. This is the negotiability of bill of exchange, that I can transfer it. I can negotiate and make a transfer. I will tell Harsh that, I'm supposed to receive 10,000 rupees from Ritu. Keep this bill. I will tell Ritu to make payment to Harsh. This normally happens in business. But usually the drawer of the bill himself is the payee of the bill. But in case of transfer, Harsh will become the payee of the bill. What are the different advantages of bills of exchange? One is that it has been used for ages now. Bill has been drawn the moment there is a credit transaction in the market. The seller will draw the bill. He will write the bill, sign the bill. Immediately, the purchaser, the debtor, will accept the bill, sign it off and give it back. And then after 10, 15, 20 days, whatever the conditions are met, and the purchaser, the debtor, will come back and make payment to the drawer of the bill. Right? So this is what is the benefit of bill of exchange. So bill of exchange is used in the settlement of debts. It fixes the date of payment. It clarifies the entire year around the transaction. It has exact amount mentioned. It is a written and signed acknowledgement of debt, which means there is a contract between the two people, purchaser and seller. Debtor enjoys full period of credit, 10, 15, 20, 3 months, whatever that period is. Drawer can convert the bill into cash by getting it discounted with the bank. The best use of bill of exchange is that it is a legal document. You can go ahead with the bank, give the bill to the bank and take the money, take the cash. This is called bill discounting. So bank can actually discount the bill and give the money to you so that you can use it for your own purposes. You need cash immediately, you can do that. Now bank has become the payee in this case, holder in due course. Bank has become the holder in due course. Now bank holds the bill, Ritu is supposed to make payment to the bank if the bill has been discounted from the bank, right? What are the different types of bills of exchange? Payable at site, on demand or presentation, payable after a certain time in future, right? So there are two types of bills, bills payable at the site and bills payable after a term. So term bill and bills payable at site. These are the two different types of bills. They are self-explanatory. The bill which is supposed to be shown and payment has been taken, that is the bill is payable at the site, and wherever the time has been mentioned, कोई term mention कर दिया गया है और एक डेट फिक्स कर दी गई है कि इस तारीख को फ्यूचर में आप मुझे पेमेंट करेंगे, that is a term bill for bill of exchange. Acceptance of the bill, it is very very important. मैंने bill बनाया, I have given it to Ritu to sign it, to accept it. I made the bill, I signed it, I am the maker, I am the drawer, I have given to the drawee Ritu. She has to sign it. Now the way she signs it is very very important to understand. Drawee signs across the face of the bill with or without the words accepted. So basically what drawee does, he will just sign the face of the bill by saying that, okay, fine, I will make the payment. He or she may write accept or not accepted. If he writes accepted, fine. If he signs, doesn't write accepted, that is also an acceptance, right? Now, what are the two types of acceptances? General or unqualified acceptance, and the second one is qualified acceptance. Now, what are these two? General acceptance is that drawee accepts to pay the whole amount mentioned in the bill without any condition. He just signs the bill. I have given the bill to Ritu. Ritu is the drawee. She just signs the face of the bill and gives it back to me, which means she has agreed to pay the bill, the amount, on the date that has been mentioned as due date to the party. There is no condition that has been specified by Ritu. But now the drawee has a condition. He accepts the bill subject to some condition regarding the amounts or the tenor of the bill. Tenor means the term of the bill. For example, Ritu accepts the condition, accepts the bill. She signs it, but she writes a line below it that she'll be able to pay only on 27th, only on 30th, only on 31st. So he says 27th November 2006 is the due date. Pay after 27th November 2006. You say I will only make payment on 31st. So this is called qualified acceptance. It has a condition, so it is called conditional acceptance. The first one is a general unconditional acceptance. Holder, we were just discussing that who is a holder. The person who is legally entitled to receive or recover the money due on bill of exchange, check or promissory note, that person is called holder of the negotiable instrument. So holder is who? For example, we made a transaction. I am a seller, Ritu is a purchaser. I have drawn a bill, signed it, given it to Ritu. Ritu signed it, accepted it, given it back to me as a drawee. I went to the bank. I said, I need immediately cash. Can you please encash this bill? They discounted the bill, then they gave me the money. Bank has become the holder of this bill now. Now bank will go and demand the money from Ritu on the due date. Similarly, the case where I said that I'm supposed to pay 10,000 rupees to Harsh, I transferred this bill to Harsh. Now Harsh holds the bill, he's the holder in due course. He holds the commercial paper, he will go to Ritu and demand the payment on due date. But again, the point is, without looking at the acceptance, without seeing what kind of acceptance has been given, Harsh or bank cannot go to Ritu and demand money. As simple as that. This is holder in due course. I have explained it in detail, so there is no need to discuss about it. Date of maturity, this is also something that I have discussed, so there is no need to discuss this in detail. This is a part of the presentation. You can go ahead and look at that. Date of maturity. Another type of bill of exchange जो हम अपनी लाइफ में बहुत फ्रीक्वेंटली और बहुत नॉर्मली ऑब्जर्व करते हैं कि हमको पता होता है कि जो चीज यूज हो रही है एज अ बिल ऑफ एक्सचेंज इज चेक. It is not only just bill of exchange, it's a negotiable instrument. Now, what is check? Check is a kind of bill of exchange which is drawn on a specific banker. सबसे पहले तो ये बहुत क्लियर है कि जब आप चेक लिखते हैं तो किसी एक ऐसे बैंक का चेक लिखते हैं जिसमें आपका अकाउंट होता है. कैन यू राइट अ चेक ऑफ द बैंक इन विच यू डू नॉट होल्ड एन अकाउंट? आपके पास चेकबुक आएगी कहां से? सो वेन एवर यू हैव an account in the bank, only that bank's checkbook you can use. So you are supposed to draw an order to the bank and it is expressed to be payable otherwise than on demand. तो आप क्या इसमें करते हैं चेक में? what is expressed? It is expressed to be paid otherwise than on demand. अगर उसमें लिखा है ऑन डिमांड पेमेंट कर दिया जाए तो आप डिमांड पे पेमेंट कर देंगे, अदरवाइज इट विल बी पेड एज पर द कंडीशन दैट इज रिटन ऑन द चेक. राइट. Second, it operates as a mandate or authority to the drawee's bank to pay the party named as drawer. आप drawee हैं उस check के. You are issuing the check by giving the order to the bank that from my account you have the authority to withdraw this money and give it to the drawer. And who is the drawer? Whose name has been mentioned on the check. Or the bearer of the check will become the drawer of the check. Right? And debit the account of its customer, the drawer. तो आप करते क्या है चेक में? आप बेसिकली बैंक को एक ऑर्डर देते हैं कि मेरे अकाउंट से इतना पैसा निकाल लिया जाए और ड्रॉई को इतना अमाउंट का पेमेंट कर दिया जाए, या बियरर जो भी उस चेक को लेकर के आएगा ऑन डिमांड उसको इतना पेमेंट कर दिया जाए, या आपने उस पर कोई डेट डाल दी कि इस तारीख को पेमेंट कर दिया जाए, या आपने उस पर किसी का नाम लिख दिया उस आदमी को ही पेमेंट कर दिया जाए, या आपने उसमें किसी का अकाउंट नंबर लिख दिया. तो अब बैंक किसी को पेमेंट नहीं करेगा ओवर द काउंटर, इट विल पे द अमाउंट इनटू द अकाउंट नंबर दैट हैज बीन गिवन ऑन द चेक. So this is what is check. It is also a type of bill of exchange, but it deals directly into a cash. Bill of exchange जो इससे पहले हम पढ़ रहे थे, that was different. That was for a credit transaction. You have to wait for a period of time to get the cash. Check itself denotes cash. Check itself is an instrument which tells you that it carries some cash, right? Discounting of bill, we have understood that if you know you are the drawer or the maker of the bill, you need cash urgently or immediately, you can go to the bank and get it discounted. You can take cash. Later on, the payment is made to the bank as bank has become the holder in due course. The person, the debtor, for whom this is bills payable, he will go to the bank and make the payment. Why it is called discounting? Because if the bill is of rupees 10,000, you have gone to the bank is typically taking a risk of making payment to you. Bank doesn't have the guarantee that while holding the bill, the debtor will come and pay the money. The payment can fail as well. The debtor can come and say on that date that I will not be able to make the payment. So typically, bank is making an advance payment to you. So what it does, it deducts some charges from the bill, and that charge is called discounting charges. So instead of giving 10,000 rupees cash, it will give you 9,900, 9,850 or something like that. That charge is called discounting charges. Endorsement of the bill. Bill of exchange, including checks, they can be endorsed by signing on the back and writing the transferring of rights from you to someone else. So you go to the back of the bill, not on the front of the bill or check, go to the back side, sign it and write that you are transferring the rights of this bill to some other person. Right? If you feel that a separate sheet has to be attached to the check or the bill, you can do that to make an endorsement. But usually, if the place is blank, the backside of the check and bill is blank, you can easily make the endorsement on the backside of it and transfer the check or the bill to some other person who will now hold the rights of taking the payment of this bill or this check. And there can be multiple transfers. That person can further transfer this check or this bill to someone else. Right? Transferor of the right is called endorser. I am the maker of the bill. I am the drawer of the bill. I am signing on the back of it and transferring it to Harsh, I will become endorser. And Harsh is going to receive it. He's going to become endorsee. Dishonor of the bill of exchange. It is same for check as well. If the drawee of a bill does not accept it, it becomes a dishonor of the bill by non-acceptance. Now, the first thing is that I made the bill, I signed it, gave it to drawee. Drawee does not accept it. It is called dishonor of the bill by non-acceptance. If the drawee accepts the bill, but fails to make the payment on the due date, it becomes dishonor of the bill by non-payment. So there is a difference between dishonor of the bill by non-acceptance, dishonor of the bill by non-payment. Dishonor of the bill by non-payment is rather a serious activity compared to dishonor of the bill by non-acceptance. There might be a mistake. There might be something wrong. There might be some term wrongly mentioned, some date wrongly mentioned, right? So you can say that you are not going to accept it. Please raise a new bill. But you have accepted it and you have not made the payment. That is a serious offense. Once the bill has been dishonored because of non-payment, what happens? This step of noting and protest is basically authentication of the fact that bill has been dishonored. The process of authenticating the fact of dishonor of the bill by non-payment is called noting. The holder of the bill may get such dishonor noted by the notary public. You go to the court, ask any person who is doing the notary public work. They will redirect you to a lawyer and a typist. On a piece of non-judicial stamp paper, he will write the notary that this was the bill, he was the maker, this guy was the drawee, this guy made the pay, this guy was supposed to make payment on so and so date. He'll put a copy of that bill as well. And noting is made either on the bill or on a separate sheet of paper. Now it is on a separate sheet of paper. It has to be made within a reasonable time after the dishonor. It is not that the bill is dishonored in 2017. You are going to notary public in 2022 that please make this bill dishonored because for last 5 years I have not been able to recover my money of 10,000 rupees. That's not a reasonable time. The fees paid to the notary public for such noting is called notary charges, because he's making a proof of dishonor of the bill by non-payment. That those charges which are paid to notary public are called notary charges. After noting, the notary public issues a formally drawn up certificate regarding the dishonor under his seal and signature. Now, after he has given you the letter of notary public, he will make a public certificate under his seal and signature. He's a lawyer, he's an advocate, he's authorized to make such documents. That document, that certificate of seal signed and sealed by the advocate is called protest. The process of getting it noted is called noting. The certificate that you get as an outcome of the notary public activity is protest. These are the two things that you need to do compulsorily before going to the court for making demand of money for non-payment of the bill. Renewal of the bill. Now, that's not the only way that you go to the court and demand money. On the failure of payment of the bill on the due date, the acceptor may accept a new bill in place of the old one for further period of time. That, say for example, after 1 month, you saw that the payment has not been made and the debtor comes back to you and tells you that give me 10 more days and I'll give you the payment. You can create a new bill and cancel the old one and refer to the old one saying that this is renewal of the bill. The new bill will actually include the interest on the unpaid amount for further period. It is business. We are not working on, friendly terms or something like that. For business, if the money has not been paid for the due date, you have to accept that you have to pay interest along with the principal amount. Retiring of the bill. When the acceptor of a bill pays it before its due date, then it is known as retiring of the bill. The holder of the bill usually allows a deduction from the amount of a bill for such prior payment. That deduction is called rebate. So for example, Ritu was supposed to make a payment after 1 month. She came to me after 20 days and she made a payment. So what I will do, I will give her a rebate. For 1,000 rupees, I will say, okay, fine. You make a payment of 990 and I give her back 10 rupees. That's 10, those 10 rupees are called rebate. So usually that happens when, the bill is retired. So bill is retired when the payment is made before the due date. accommodation of the bill of exchange is about the commercial consideration that is there in the bill. So we will not go into the details of that. Bills receivable book. So basically there is a bills receivable book that you must have studied in your 11th, 12th and first year of BCom, that how you are going to record what number of bills receivables are there in your business, how many, so number of bill, date received, bill of date of bill, from whom you have received it, who is the drawer, who is the acceptor, where it has to be paid, what is the term, what is the due date, ledger folio from the ledgers, amount, cash. All these things are to be mentioned in the bills receivable book. So let's not go in. Bills payable book. So for the debtor, in his books, his or her books, he will keep a bills payable record, right? So that's the second piece. So that's all from the bills of exchange and check side. Now I'm leaving this forum open for any questions that you have.